Like, why would you threaten to kill us?
These expectations, they keep weighing me down.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. It's been raining the whole day, but I told myself I was gonna film yesterday and I didn't because of the same reason, and I just have been putting it off, and I keep saying on my channel that I will talk about it and I haven't. And you know, it's finally gotten to the point where I can talk about it. I hope you guys have your popcorn because this video is probably gonna be long. I'm gonna try to talk through the story pretty fast, but I mean, I am talking about a full year. You know, I'm talking from things that started happening in like August from last year and are ending just now in July. So there's a lot that I have to cover. I just want to make a quick disclaimer as well before I begin. I just want to say I am not trying to victimize myself or my friend, I guess. I'm telling my side of the story, but just because it's my side doesn't mean it's, you know, the wrong side or the right side. You know, you guys can make those judgments yourselves, but I just want to tell, you know, my story and what happened with me, just so that you guys know what can happen to you when you go away for college, pretty much, you know. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, I guess. Let's take it back to March of 2017, more or less. Me and one of my best friends applied for a university that is around 2 hours away from, you know, our hometown. If we got accepted, we were planning on leaving. Like, we had our mindset already that we wanted to go. So we got accepted, and fast forward a little bit to July, we found these student living apartments that we were gonna move into, and then each apartment had up to 4 roommates, and I was leaving. It was me and my best friend with 2 other people. So let's kind of start our actual timeline. On July 15th, we got our roommate assignments. Like, we got this email saying, here are your roommates. On move-in day, this is pretty much what you have to pay. This is your address, you know, just like information about where we're gonna live and all of that. Like, it was like a little pamphlet, a PDF file. Me and my best friend got room together, so it was us 2, thankfully. And then we were moving in with 2 other people. The 2 other people, we thought it was move-in day for all of us. I don't know how we found out. I think it's because they texted us, but I'll get to that later. We later found out that they had already been there for like a year, or I don't even know how long. So us 2, me and my best friend, were gonna be the newbies in the apartment, which, you know, we were totally fine with. With our roommate assignments, we also got like their contact information. On July 31st, this was like pretty much the first day of contact that we had with a roommate. Let's call her Lily. Lily sends me and my best friend a message. I opened Lily's message, and it was pretty much like, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Lily. I just have a few questions for you, like, if you don't mind. Like, what do you like to do for fun? Do you go to school? What's your age? And then she asked me, do you smoke? Obviously, I answered. I told her, I was like, hey, what's up? I am a student. I'm going in. This is my first year. I'm 18. Like, you know, just pretty much answering all of her questions. And then I told her, I was like, I don't smoke. She pretty much responded like, oh, okay, cool. By the way, do you mind smoking? And at this point, I was like, okay, this girl, Lily, only texted me. She was mostly interested in knowing the whole smoking factor. And I told her, I'm like, I don't mind it, as long as it's not inside of the house. I forgot how I mentioned it, but I told her, I'm like, I'm moving in with my best friend, so the other girl, like, I know her, and we're on the same page. Like, we don't smoke, we don't mind it, but we don't want it inside. And she said, oh, you guys are best friend, that's cool, whatever. She pretty much said, like, okay, don't worry about it, we'll keep it outside of the common area, like, it's not gonna happen. And you know, that was that. Like, that was it. My best friend said that she responded to her, and then Lily never texted back. And then in August, on the 19th, it was our move-in day. As soon as I stepped into the apartment, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. I'm not too picky because I am a messy person. I only have organization for certain things. But, you know, walking in and seeing the living room dirty is different than having my room dirty. Like, I feel like the outside area is an area that should always be clean or semi-clean. Anyways, this was not the case. I walked in with my best friend, my family, you know, my mom, my sister, and then her mom, her dad, her siblings. So we walked in with like a bunch of boxes, and there's a mattress on the floor. The kitchen area was a little bit dirty. It wasn't that bad, like it got worse, but when we walked in, it wasn't clean either. The TV was on, which was fine. And then roommate number 2, which I guess we can call, let's call the other Miley. Miley was on the couch and she was knocked out. It was probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My family left, I moved in, I, you know, organized everything. And then I stepped out, obviously when Miley and Lily weren't there. And I noticed that the smoke detector in the living room, there was 2 smoke detectors. I noticed that the smoke detector under the couch was gone. It was disconnected. It was nowhere to be seen. I was like, okay, maybe they'll put it back up, like whatever, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. Exactly 1 weekend from my move-in day, my family drove up to see me. They went to go visit me, and I left my door ajar. Like, it was, I'm like spending time with my family inside of my room because first of all, I didn't want them to be outside in the living room because it was like, I didn't even feel at home yet, so I didn't want them like outside the living room, so I was fine with them being inside of my room. But anyways, Miley gets home. I don't know if she was with Lily. I really don't remember. This was almost a year ago. She is drunk, like wasted, which is fine, you know, I don't... But this girl, first of all, I didn't know her. She went straight to my room, like she opened the door and she's like, hi, oh, this is your family. She didn't even knock. Personal space, like this. She went inside her room, and then me and my family were just like, what? Towards the end of the month, they started smoking weed inside, and it did bother me and my best friend, but we didn't want problems. So we just, you know, we kept quiet. We were like, whatever, we'll learn to deal with it. It's not a big deal. So then came September. It's not even that I was annoyed with them smoking. I was annoyed with them smoking after having asked me if I minded it. And, you know, I tell you one thing and then you go and then you do the total opposite. They took what I said and they wiped their ass with them. Like, they didn't care. So they were already, you know, treating us like the underdogs. We were strangers in our own home. Lily had a full-time job, so most of the time it was Miley. Miley was constantly smoking and she constantly had strangers over. Like, our door, oh, that's another issue. Our door was never locked. Our front door was never, ever, ever locked. And in my house, like in my mom's house where, you know, the people I grew up with, I learned to always lock the door. I could be in the living room and people would just come in like, oh, is Miley home? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, why don't you call her? Why don't you text her? Why don't you say I'm coming over? And why isn't Miley there to open the door for you? Like, they would just open the door like if they were in their own house. There was no respect. They wouldn't knock the door. The other thing about Miley was that she always slept in the living room, which I get it, you know, if you see it from her point of view, it is her home as well. She is paying her rent. She can sleep in the living room, but then she would sleep in until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She wouldn't like when we would wake up to make breakfast at like 12 at noon. But it's like, dude, why don't you just sleep in your room? She pretty much owned the apartment. That's how it felt. Oh my god, they're throwing away the trash. Jesus Christ. October and November came, you know, things were pretty constant. Let me see, what can I call this dude? You know, since we have the whole Hannah Montana cast, let's go ahead and call him Oliver. In November, this dude Oliver started coming over every day. Pretty much to summarize what happened with Oliver, he ended up moving into the apartment with, well, he moved in with Miley pretty much. And he wouldn't sleep in her room. That's the joke. Because Miley would sleep in the living room, and so guess where he would sleep? In the living room. So when I walked into my apartment, you know, getting home from class, it wasn't just Miley that I had to deal with in the living room. It was Oliver. I couldn't get out of my room without a bra if I wanted to because there was a dude there. Fucking Oliver. And he's not paying rent. In December, nothing out of the blue happened. It was winter break, so I did leave for 2 weeks. Since December was coming, you know, Christmas and whatever, Miley and Lily would have people over at night, like on weekends, which is basic, you know, whatever. It's common to have people over on weekends. They would stay up late. They were loud at night, but I wouldn't care. January came. That was where the turning point came. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, more or less, when this happened. Miley wrote a note to Lily and she left it on the kitchen counter. Now, the kitchen counter is not theirs. The kitchen counter is not mine. It's ours. We shared the kitchen counter. And I was being a nosy, to be honest. Like, I really was. But I mean, if there's something on the kitchen counter, I'm gonna read it. Like, I didn't know if it was for me. I don't know if it was for her. It was in the kitchen counter. So if I see a note, I'm gonna read it. So I read the note, and pretty much the note said, "Hey boo, I'm sorry you feel bad. I stole one of your cigarettes. Here's like 25 cents to make up some. I hope you can sleep in, have a good rest of your day, whatever." And then as a side note, considering I almost murked the roomies this morning. So I am uneducated AF and I didn't know what murked meant. I Google murked and then, thank you Urban Dictionary. Murked is a combination of the word murdered and killed, for those of you who didn't know, by the way. Which I'm pretty sure is just me. I like think back to what had happened earlier. Like at 1 in the afternoon, Miley and Lily are sleeping, like knocked out in the living room, of course, because they don't have room. We go out to the kitchen to eat. We didn't even cook. I think we made like waffles, which are like in the toaster. Very minimal noise, you know, obviously like the noise of the waffle bag, whatever. This girl really just said she was gonna murk me and my best friend because we're making breakfast at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And she was mad because we were being loud. But then again, she's sleeping in the living room, but she has a room where she can sleep in, but she decides not to sleep in it. So whose fault is it? And then I knock on my best friend's door and I'm like, yo, there's a note on the counter, go read it. She looks at it and then she looks at me, she's like, what the f-? Like, why are they being problematic? We haven't said anything about them smoking. We haven't said anything about them being loud at night. We were literally nothing. Like, why would you threaten to kill us? So obviously we start laughing, and then we had this like whiteboard in our apartment. We got a marker and we wrote on the board pretty much saying, we'll stop being loud in the mornings if you guys stop being loud at night. We can either both be happy or we can be miserable, something like that. We went into our rooms. I think I had like to do homework or whatever. And then like 30 minutes later, Lily comes out of her room and I don't even remember what she said word for word, but I do remember she said we were stupid, we were nosy, we were being big, like, you know, basic stuff. She erases the message off the board, she leaves. And then that night, Miley and Lily get home and Miley is throwing a fit and she's like, they're so stupid, are we in middle school? Like, this girl is talking to the max. And at this point, I don't open my door to fight because these girls, I should have started off with that. Me and my best friend were 18, you know, when we moved in. These girls were like 23. These girls are 3 to 4 years older than we are, maybe 5, who knows. And they're throwing fits. Why don't you grow the up? Learn to respect. That's all we wanted. Respect. And then in February, we were just fed up. Like, they were being obnoxious. They were being really, really loud. Me and my best friend took morning classes, so we would get out of the house like at 9. We would come home like at 12, and at 12 Miley was sleeping in the living room, and we couldn't make food because she was sleeping. Like, no dude, I'm not gonna starve just because you decided to sleep outside. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be an but I'm hungry. So she would get up from the living room, walk over to her room, and throw her door room shut. I really am amused at how the door never once broke. So we're like, you know what, I'm not taking this anymore. So we emailed the office and we're like, hey, we need some advice. Is there like any move out options? They're very childish. They smoke inside all the time. They're always throwing the doors. They threaten to kill us. Like, you know, pretty much telling them the story from when we moved in up until February. And the manager said, let's set up a group meeting. Let's talk. 4 of us, like, you guys can come down to the office. We'll set up a day. I'll email all of you guys. And, you know, we'll sit down and talk things through. The day of the meeting, as we're waiting on Miley, Lily checks her phone and she's like, Miley just texted me and she said she can't make it because she got called into work. So I'm like, of course she did. Like, dude, out of all days, like, she got called into work today, whatever. So we're like, okay, let's reschedule. Let's do it next Friday. As me and my best friend walk into the apartment, we see Miley in the house. We don't say anything, but I'm like, didn't she just say she got called into work? Why is she here? And so is Oliver. So I'm like, this girl isn't going to work. We wasted our time going there and we scheduled the meeting and she knew it was today. So we emailed the manager, hey, we're not trying to cause a bigger problem, but I know this girl said she got called into work, but we got home and she was here, and so was Oliver, and then Lily got home a short while after, and they're just all in the living room smoking. The manager goes, oh, wow, like, I can't believe this. So she's like, don't worry about it. We're gonna send her an email. We're gonna send her a warning. And, you know, just stick to the reschedule. We'll do it next Friday. So we're like, okay. That same day, she went to work for real. Me and my best friend like go outside to go find something to eat, and we see that there's a message on the whiteboard that says, hey guys, I can't do next week because I'm going out of town. Is it okay if we do the following week on a Thursday? Some like that. We pretty much wrote back on the board and we're like, yeah, we can reschedule, but, you know, just have some respect next time. And, you know, have the audacity to actually show up. Like, don't just cancel. That same night, a guy from the office walks into the apartment. He's like, hey, don't worry, I'm just leaving this notice for Miley, the one that didn't show up. We're like, okay, we thought it was just a notice. So we hear footsteps and then we don't hear a door being opened. So I'm like, oh shoot, it's Miley. A few seconds pass and this girl exploded. She started banging on the counters. She threw her room door, and I do not remember word for word, but she did call us. She said pieces of she threw the front door. She left. Why is she upset if she didn't show up when she should have? 2 days later, me and my best friend are eating in the counter, and Miley gets home and she goes straight to her room, and then she comes outside and she stands on the other side of the counter and she's like staring at us. She's like, hey, can I talk to you guys? I mean, like, do we have a choice? She starts apologizing and she's like, hey, I'm sorry. I really did get called into work that day. She said that she had sent an email saying that she wasn't going to be able to make it, but the email never went through. They fined me $100. They fined her $100. She's gonna kill us. We didn't know they were gonna fine you. Like, we spoke to the manager and she said she was just gonna give you a notice. Like, she did not tell us that she was gonna fine you. She kind of realized that the odds were in favor of me and my best friend. Like, in the office, they already knew that she was smoking. She's like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I would rather us sit here at home, make a meeting like between ourselves, and try to solve the issue at home and not in the office because I can get arrested. Me and my best friend, like, you know, we kind of like sat down and we thought about it and we're like, whatever, let's try to solve it between us. We sat down on a Sunday morning and we talked things out. So we solved the issue. March was probably the best month that we lived with them. Like, it was perfect. In April, we had spring break, so when we returned, the apartment was the cleanest that I've ever seen it. Like, to this day, that was the cleanest it ever got. So they cleaned. They were the messiest people. They would leave food outside for days and the house would smell. Like, the food would go bad. At one point, I think we had maggots in the sink in the kitchen. It's because they would never do their dishes either. So the food would obviously go bad. They wouldn't throw away the leftover food. They would just leave it in the kitchen counter. So when they power cleaned the house, they became these automatic like neat freaks overnight. Whenever me and my best friend would cook, which was like every other day, they had like Febreze bottles. They would spray the bottles for like 2 straight minutes. For 2 minutes straight, you would just hear the Febreze bottle like going at it because they couldn't stand the smell of food. And then halfway through April, my friend left a message on the board saying, hey, I'm gonna do laundry, can you guys take your clothes out? Oh, I had to work that day, so I left for work and my friend had class that day. She had lab. So we left, and then when my friend got home, they took the whiteboard down. I was just laughing. Like, when my friend told me, I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, in May, there was another incident. I was out of the house and my friend had just gotten home. This was like 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon. She gets home. Miley is sleeping in the couch. She couldn't really see. She was trying to make food. So she turns on the kitchen light. Now, kitchen light shines on the living room area. Miley gets up from the couch. She walks towards her room. But before getting to her room, she turns off the kitchen light. And then she goes to her room and she throws the door shut. My friend was like, what the f? I'm in the kitchen. You see I'm in the kitchen. Why would you turn off the light? So she turns it on. A few seconds later, Miley comes out of the room, turns off the kitchen light again, and throws herself on the couch. And my friend is like, she told her, she's like, are you serious? And Miley goes, there's enough daylight outside. You don't have to turn the light on. And then my friend was like, I can't see. It's too dark. If you don't want the light to shine on your face, go sleep in your room. She turns the light back on. Miley was pissed. So Miley goes to her room, gets like a pack of cigarettes, I think it was. And then she goes outside, like she leaves the apartment and she throws the door. And then Lily comes out a few seconds later and she turns to my friend and she's like, oh, you didn't have to be so rude. In June, you know, we have like 2 months left until move out because, you know, our lease ends at the end of July. She started smoking inside the apartment again. And, you know, we didn't say anything because, like, honestly, there was 2 months until move out day and we didn't want to start again. Like, I was over. She would throw her door whenever me and my best friend would start making breakfast. And then last but not least, there's July. Miley definitely was going through something. So this was a few days ago, to be honest, like a few weeks ago. Me and my best friend had gone home for like a few days and then we went back. Miley was sleeping on the couch like always. My best friend is on the phone with her mom. We go straight to our rooms and I was really tired, so I went straight to my bed. I jumped in, fell asleep, and that was the end of it. Maybe like an hour later, I wake up because Miley is throwing her door like 6 times. Like a minute later, I hear Lily come out of her room and she's like, hey dude, are you okay? Miley goes, yeah dude, it's just, you know, I'm so tired. I fell asleep super late last night and, you know, this girl, she's talking about my best friend, she comes in super early today and she's like talking on the phone in Spanish and she's like being super loud. And Lily goes, oh, well, I'm gonna go celebrate my birthday. And she leaves. And then Miley blew up. I had never heard her say the things that I'm about to say. Like, at this point, even Lily is fed up with Miley. Oliver's in the living room because I had seen him sleeping as well. So she's like yelling at Oliver. She always comes and she's making noise. Miley was complaining and throwing her door, not because my friend was on the phone with her mom, but because apparently Lily had come in and she was like fighting with someone on the phone and she was being loud. I didn't hear her. This was her friend, right? Miley and Lily were friends. As soon as Lily closed the door, Miley started yelling, "I hope you get into a car accident, you stupid." And then she goes, "Go f yourself." And that was her friend. And then she dials her mom's number. She's on the phone and she's, Lily, whatever, go live with your mommy and daddy. And then after saying that, she's like, oh wait, your daddy's not even alive. Like, go live with your stupid stepdad who doesn't even like you. And I'm just in my room and I'm like, dude, with friends like these, like her, why have enemies? Like, why? This girl genuinely was such a bad person. She was such a bad person. Who says that? What kind of person do you have to be? First, you threaten to kill me and my best friend. Then, you wish this girl gets into a car crash. Like, why? Because she was being loud? Why don't you just tell her? The night after, my best friend was like on the phone with her family. And Miley is like by the living room, almost outside of her door, mocking everything my friend was saying. So if my friend would laugh, she would like mock her laugh. If my friend said something in Spanish, she would try to mock it and say, this girl didn't even speak Spanish, so she didn't even know what the hell she was saying. Yeah, that was my crazy roommate story. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for listening and hopefully for understanding my point of view. I would really appreciate if you subscribe. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and I'll see you guys hopefully in my next video. Bye.